So orca whales are wearing dead salmon as hats again. Don't you just hate when they do that? If you're anything like me, you probably heard that and said, hmm? So apparently, orca whales, back in the 80s, have been known to wear salmon, dead salmon, as hats. Just swimming around with a fitted dead fish on their head. Just apparently just for fashion reasons. Now what's crazy about this is that they started doing it again. Not that many. It wasn't as big of a trend as it was in the 80s. But you know how fashion works. You know, it might take a while for it to get to the masses. So back in the 80s, I guess a female orca whale started wearing just this big giant dead salmon just on her head. And then the rest of her pod followed. And it spread. It became like a little fashion trend among the orcas, according to somebody. I don't know how you poll all of the orcas for their fashion sense, but apparently a lot of orcas were doing this. And then they just stopped. You know, I guess the wrong orcas started wearing them, and then it became uncool. Maybe great white sharks started doing it, and then the orcas were just like, no, this isn't fun, right? And then recently, it resurfaced, which makes me think, what is happening? What is happening down there? I thought it was just about food and sex. You mean to tell me that, first of all, it's pretty savage to have dead things as your fashion, but I get it. They can't sew. They can't do a lot of stuff that we can do to make clothes. So dead fish it is. So these orcas are like, yeah, you see what I got on? You see it? And it serves like no purpose. I don't know if it's like lunch for later and they're just like, it's on my head now. And we're just stupid enough to be like, fashion trend. But I mean, it's a great headline, isn't it? I would love to think that the orcas were down there like, yep, salmon's in this year, you know. And I would even, the thought of them thinking that this is vintage fashion is even better. Like, yeah, they wore this back in the 80s. My pops used to wear the salmon, so I'm bringing the salmon back. And then a couple of trendy orcas were like, yeah, this is cool again, you know. And all the dorky orcas are like, oh, they're wearing salmon again. I'm gonna get me a dead salmon too. And their friends are like, no, you can't pull it off. And they're like, yes, I can. I mean, all of that was a pretty big stretch, but I would just personally love to think that there is fashion among the orcas. And who else, you know? Who better than the orca whales? We already know the great white sharks probably got no swag, you know. The blue whales are just out here existing, you know. They already huge, so they already got like an entourage of groupies, just like these fish and things swimming underneath them and on the side of them. Yeah, I know him, you know. But it's looking like the orca whales have just brought back a little vintage fashion trend, and apparently it's already over too. You know, they already moved on, but just food for thought. There might be little fashion trends happening in the ocean. So this is the stuff that we need to, you know, finance science for. This is the stuff we need to look out for.